Welcome to the ROCM Podcast, presented by ROCM Esports.
Hello everyone and welcome to a new ROCM Podcast. I am Appa and I am again with my co-hosts, Richard.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
And Johnty.
Hello.
And we have a guest. He makes music for video games, Jacob.
Hello there. Thanks for having me, guys.
No problem. His artist name, I guess, is MountWest.
Yes, that's true. MountWest or MountWest Music is like the tag I use on social media and stuff. So, that's why I use it.
I'm like very, very curious because how did you come up with the name?
That's a very good question, actually. So my last name is actually Westberg in Swedish, which basically means West Mountain. So, and then I have this fascination for the wise person on the mountain, or you find the mountain is whatever you're trying to an accomplishment, or there's a journey there. So I like that, the imagery of that. So I use that, and then it sort of sounds like Mount Everest when you say MountWest. So I kind of like that.
Oh, that's nice. I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah. I like the name. It's very memorable. So it's
Cool. All right. Yeah.
Some people have usernames that you can't really remember that fast. MountWest is I don't know, I like the name.
There's a beautiful story behind it. It's I like it. I love it.
But you make music for video games. How did you start making music, just overall?
I've been always around music, since I have a family and everybody there sort of played music. So it was always around. But I've gotten this question before, and I've eventually I started going down into myself and looking, okay, where does my fascination and passion for music come from? And I've realized that since I was born with a hearing impairment when I was born with it. So the first few years of my life, I could hear everything very distantly.
I see.
So I think, and then after 3 or 4 years of age, I had some corrective surgery done, and now I hear everything most people do. But I think that I have memories, or I have recollections of how I listen to music when I can't really hear that well, and I'm sitting up against the loudspeaker with my ear against the protective foam, and I listen to the music and I hear something is there with that's very meaningful.
So you're a bit like a modern Beethoven.
I wouldn't. He was on the other way around, right? But he was born, hearing everything well, but eventually his hearing got worse and worse. So
I see.
So I wouldn't compare myself with him that way.
With modern times, everything changes, right?
Uh-huh.
Sorry, well.
Oh, it's modern times, everything changes, right?
That's true. Everything changes. Yeah. So, anyways, that. I think my fascination for music and sounds sort of started there. It must have been something very alluring to hear something in the distance, and you understand that there's meaning there, and people focus in on it, around you. The family is listening to stuff, but I'm sitting there trying to interpret what is going on here, and I hear melodies sort of in the background. But it wasn't until I was a little bit older that I could. And I still remember waking up from surgery at some point, and I had no idea what was going on. But I wake up and everything is super intense. You hear all this buzzing and stuff that I've never heard before. So that is a very made a strong imprint on me. I still have a strong memory of waking up there and not feeling very well.
Yeah, that must be kind of intense. You just go from barely hearing to just this world of sound.
Yeah, like people. My parents got told that like, oh well, we're a little bit curious about Jacob because we think he's not really there because he laughs at the wrong places. And, he's like, I couldn't hear anything, so I just assumed that when people add like some sort of melodic inflection in their voice, there was a joke, and then everybody was supposed to laugh. So that got myself into those kind of situations sometimes where I didn't really hear what was going on, but I tried to get it.
I reckon that would be something very overwhelming. Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's I assume that's why I started playing music. Like it was.
Oh
no.
Not again. No.
Technical issues for the trade.
Oh no, we cannot hear you. Oh my.
Hello.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello.
Oh my god.
It works.
It works again.
good. Okay.
Okay, so
I think I found a part of the problem is that I've gotten some messages that my hard drive is full. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but like, hurts and like I don't know. But let's keep trying, I suppose. What do you guys think?
let's keep trying. You know, bloopers are fun. We're gonna
Blooper montage.
we're gonna
Okay,
find a way to be creative.
Keep this whole part, right?
Yeah, why not?
Do we?
Okay, no, we're not gonna, because we went from 6 minutes on the timer to 11, so that's like
First
5 minutes. We can keep a part though, because it's funny.
It's
But
funny.
I don't think we'll keep everything.
Do we count down again or?
I will count down. Where were we even?
I mean, where were we? Let's
Still with
We were speaking about why I started music.
Yeah.
We're
Yes,
just
okay.
gotten started.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah, just you guys take take the lead.
Okay, right. I will just continue on to education, I guess. Okay, so I think everything is working again. So let's move on. What education did you do?
Yeah. So I started taking like lessons in cello and piano and guitar when I was started out in prime school and everything. So started out like in community school kind of thing. And eventually in high school I went on to music production and audio engineering and had some tried more out the technical sides of how do you record music and stuff.
I see.
And then my first academic education, I started doing 1.5 years in musicology, where you study music history, you study music theory, and you go into what music is more academically, so you can how do you talk about music in a sense. But it was more theoretical. But I wanted to be more practical, so I started a bachelor's degree in audio production at a school in university, or a technical university in Sweden.
Okay.
So, and then after I finished that, I went on to a few years after that. I did a 2-year a course in programming.
Hey.
So software development and mostly for mobile devices like cell phones, smartphones and stuff like that.
Pretty cool.
But it was it was a very general course where we I decided to lean towards games and game companies and stuff like that. So
I see.
Okay.
And then this summer I finished my master's degree in music production
master's.
at the Royal College of Music in Sweden.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Quite intense, and this I feel like this, especially this the last program that I studied, I could study music at a music school. And focus all my resources and everything that I did on game music for specifically. And since then I started a course now that I'm taking in in composition and arrangement here at the same school. So
I see. All the educations you did were all in Sweden, right?
they're all in Sweden. Yes. Yeah.
Was it intense for you to? I mean, some people think you learn better by just doing it, and find like going to college or going to university. They think like, you should. Why would you? Would you think that it's not true? Do you think that education like that is?
I completely I completely sympathize with that sentiment. It's like the big trouble with, or like the biggest problem you will have when you go into academia is that it is a bubble. So like, and that's, in a sense, it's part of the I feel like it's part of the reason why you have an institute where you go and study at, is that it's like sort of sheltered from outside direction, or outside the criticism, in a sense. So like you're supposed to be able to just go here and fail, in a sense.
Okay.
But at the same time, what that gives is that you will have an environment which does not really punish you for, or like punish is it's a strong word, but it's not like you don't see the actual effect of having, doing something that is not successful, or it's not like, you didn't achieve, like you assume that you will achieve a certain result by, you write this kind of music, and if you're inside of this institute, it will be successful by just, you're here, you managed to, do this so you could finish the course. But if you would then take whatever you're doing and then practice it outside, then you won't get that results, like then, because you've only practiced at, finishing assignments or whatever. So, and I, for one, think that, being out there in the world and actually doing stuff that, connects with people, like sort of you go into academia to study stuff, to be able to give that to people, but in the end, you need to learn how to give that to the society, or your audience, or whatever, outside of the institution that you work in.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think the biggest teacher is the street, sort of like the best. The truest teacher is the street. Like they won't. What do you call it?
This is the realest reaction, the realest. How do I say?
Yeah.
The realest outcome comes out of it.
sugarcoating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like, and then it's a harsh,
Environment.
It's a harsh sentiment. I think it's, but I think like if it's art you're doing, and you want to touch people, like music, you need to touch people emotionally, in a sense.
I see.
Then like you can't. It's like it's like finding someone you love, and then you don't pretend to love someone, like it just happens, and sort of. Well, now I'm being controversial.
I get you. You have to embrace it, and
No,
it's
there's something about like going out into the world and actually trying stuff, with your stuff, like that's. I'm a big fan of skin in the game. Like, you put yourself out there and not on somebody else's terms. It's like,
Yes.
this is you, and then you have to own it, sort of. So,
Okay.
and I really like that.
Yeah.
That's how I feel like I have done that, but it's while being in academia and like studying like this is sort of like I feel like I could have had more of that, like and in the end it's just a different way of like finding how you practice your art or practice your craft or profession, like there are a lot of ways to do it, of course. So there's no right or wrong way, but my sentiment is that.
So how?
Good question. I think a lot about that actually.
Okay. I see. So yeah, that kind of brings us to how do you decide like for a game? Let's say you have a game. How do you look at the game and be like, okay, this needs this music to touch the people? How do you like decide the vibe of it?
That's a good question. Like it depends a lot on. I think every case is different when it comes to like deciding exactly what kind of music should eventually be in the game. But I found myself in what I do is that I can't get caught up in that sort of discussion with myself too long. I just do stuff that is sort of intuitive to me. So
you kind of go with what your feeling says, and then you build.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's always sort of based on like what is the game, like what, and you know, in an early stage, like it's usually conceptually like, okay, well, we're doing an RPG game with like with old like pixelated graphics and in a very Super NES kind of style of game, like, you know, and then that sort of shows you, and if there's, you know, if there's visual art or visual concept or something visually that I can see, then it's, you know, it's easy to get a sense of like this could be an interesting angle on this. But I also do like to I like to, you know, challenge myself and like try to figure out a different kind of angle. I'm not a very good composer at, like, you know, producing like not generic, that's such a bad word. But
Mainstream? Is that the word, maybe?
Mainstream is a good word, but I can take it from my side. I like to tweak it somehow. I like weird stuff, and I like a little bit of, like, you know, resistance in what you hear. So it's not like completely, you know, there needs to be some resistance in the art, I think.
Yeah.
For it to be interesting, like that, it creates some interest in. I think it gives a new angle and interest in what you, in the music, in this case.
Can you give
something like that? Yeah.
Can you give examples of games that you have not worked on, like examples for games where you think the music is good? Like that's not your work, but like others.
You're just asking.
Okay. I'm just curious.
One of the earliest games that I really like is Donkey Kong 64.
Yes.
Nintendo 64 game. Yeah, have you played it?
Johnty likes it.
Yeah, I played a lot of Donkey Kong games. I think it was yesterday or the day before, but we played a soundtrack of the what was it? Donkey Kong Country Returns for the Wii and the 3DS.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so you have to understand, you're sitting in a room with like two guys who are highly energized by the music.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you're like listening to it for an hour. So we have like a lot of projects we're working on, and yesterday we were sitting around and programming and building a map, and then that music was going on for an hour. It was amazing.
People.
And it's amazing, and it's like, it's both catchy and it's also like, it can be somewhat ambient, like it's always there, and then like it's you know, game music is so good for either having in the background or having in the foreground. Like it's really well made game music really just hits the spot with those kind of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Donkey Kong 64 is a big one for me. Like, and then I played a lot of Nintendo 64 when I was young, so those will always be like close to my heart, of course.
I see.
I listen to a lot of stuff. One thing that really impressed me recently is Untitled Goose Game.
Oh yeah.
Or yeah.
I know.
It's called something different, right?
I know what you mean. It's like with annoying goose that steals stuff and
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like in this. It looks like it's in this like French village or in this like
Yeah,
pastoral
title music.
English village where it just strolls around and like makes people's lives worse. But the music, the way that they composed, produced, and implemented the music there is so interesting, and it's so sort of matching to the game design of like what the game is actually about.
the music really reacts to the game, right?
Exactly.
I can remember
So
that,
you
yeah.
have these. It's a solo piano player who's only they like they cut up phrases of like this blues kind of or jazzy kind of like lines that he's playing or she's playing, and then they like sort of randomizes it based on what just happened. So it sounds like there's a piano player who sits or like is the goose sort of thing, and then
I
like
see.
if the goose is like scared, it plays this like just like a jazz sort of free jazz thing like that's just out of tempo. It's not like synced to anything, but it's like you have these emotional cues inside of the game, which is directly connected to what kind of music you hear, which is so well made in there. Like it's
Yeah, it's cool. It's kind of unique. Not a lot of games do that. That it's like made in that way.
and it's a really bold, way to take the music. So yeah, kudos to the team who took that idea and like went with it. It was
And
so cool.
who gets to design or to decide what kind of music comes to the game? Like, is it the producer of the game, or are there other people involved except from you?
Oh yeah, it's a big question, of course, and it varies a lot, of course, depending from team to team. But like you guys know, and like you talk about, music is it's a very like important part of games, and especially we who produce and work with games, we're like sort of everybody has some sort of like memory or some sort of emotional connection to music. So when you sit and work inside of a game company, it's not uncommon that everybody has sort of like an interest in the music and like what should the music be, and if the art director or like the game producer or like the project lead has an interest in the music and making it sound the best or like in a specific direction, then they will try to of course they are interested in having an input in that decisions that needs to be made on that.
I see.
So as a like I understand the whole product or production chain of like what when I work with music inside of a game, it's not only the audio department that is sort of invested in the music, it's also the graphical department and
Okay.
programmers and everybody's sort of
Pitches in.
interested in like making it into something really cool and memorable. So, and I prefer working in teams where there's a the ambition to make really beautiful stuff and like artistic stuff is high. So because there's always something more interesting in those kind of projects, to me at least. So.
Doesn't that create chaos though? If everyone has an opinion, like, oh, this is this, I want it like that.
That's true. But I feel confident in my own ability to sort of have what are my artistic boundaries. Like I do of course listen to feedback and what are the criticisms that just come up for the music that I make for a game. It's very important, of course. So, and I need to be need to be responsive to that. Like, well, should I listen to the feedback, or should I, perhaps steer away from feedback just because everybody's saying sort of the same thing? Like it's, yeah. So, but of course, it's like because there is such a big interest in navigating through that can be very complicated and can be a bit, emotionally, can be emotionally what do you call
A lot.
challenging. Yeah, like. Well, like I said, I feel I have confidence in like I do this because I feel very confident in it. So.
But at the end of the day, everyone just wants to just make something amazing, right? And that brings,
it's so weird. Like games, video games, is a huge. Has become such a huge market, and like there's so much interest in video games. And especially here in Sweden, like it's really one of the biggest markets in capital.
It's all very.
And it's a creative, market. It's a creative industry. So which is wild, like how did this happen? Like how did so much. How did it become so much interested in this kind of art? And everybody who's working inside of game development are somewhat creative. Like everybody, it's like we're working with not art in its like not all games are considered art in a sense, but there is art in games.
I see.
Like always,
Yeah, there's some pretty big studios in Sweden as well. Mojang, of course, developers of Payday. They're like a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
I feel like gaming as a whole is bigger in Sweden than it is in the Netherlands right now, I think.
Oh, definitely.
I don't know the numbers. I do know that there's like we have King here, and we have those King made Candy Crush Mountain.
Oh wow.
Mojang is made Minecraft, of course. Dice, who worked with the Battlefront series.
Dice is Swedish? I didn't know that.
So it's like,
Wow, okay.
Swedish people have a lot of
a
creativity.
lot of people are moving to a lot of people. I don't know exact numbers, of course, but I'm regularly meet people who've just moved from Turkey or from Australia or New Zealand just to work here in Stockholm, where I'm at. So it's very it's exciting to be here. I gotta say, it's a very exciting time for it.
Do you actually use the music theory and other stuff you learned at your academics very much in your job, or is it more like you go with the flow?
Yeah. No. Well, the biggest, what I'm most, the biggest challenge is not to take, because there's a lot of knowledge in like music theory and like the history of music theory. Like there's so much theory that you can learn that just helps you improve your craft, but there's very little theory on how to compose for games. So, and which I find very exciting. Like, well, here's this like unexplored territory. So let's do something cool and see. Like, let's try to break it, see where it breaks.
I see.
So, but yeah, it's I use a lot of theory, of course. It's music.
So I've been thinking, right? The world of producing and making music, it's amazing. It's very big. And when you are working on game music, I'm sure there is some copyright mess about there with that. So how do you personally deal with those type of things like music copyright?
So yeah, like music copyright is a big question, right? Or like it's a big area. It's a very, very complex area, First, I gotta say, like I have studied copyright law, and within my academic research, but I'm not a I'm not a I don't have a diploma or anything like music copyright law or something like that. So just so you know, like the but yeah, like copyright law in general, it's not only music, but you know, you look at copyright law, and it's very complicated. So copyright law for books, or copyright law for games, for instance. It's very complicated.
Because you see it all the time that there's like problems with music and who owns what, and this can be used here and you can't, and yeah.
Well, internet became like a big kind of experiment that just
Exploded.
which is, I think that's good. It's like that's sort of how it should be. Like people should, you know, if you have a new technology. And there's no laws around, like there's no praxis surrounding it, then like it's free for all, and then people start to step in and like, wait a minute, well, you're just for instance, like I can't take the music that like whoever made Prince made, and then, you know, upload it to Spotify and then earn money on it. Like it's sort of obvious when you put it that way, but
I see.
It's
It's very complicated. It's very
like for example GTA, like Vice City, they used to have like rights to some songs, but now they re-release the game with like remastered, right, or a definitive edition, and now they don't own those songs anymore. It's kind of
It's like they pay. Sometime they've had an agreement with the artists or like the owners of the copyright for that music, and when they sort of release a new game, perhaps that's not part of that agreement, and then they sit down at the table and ask them like, yeah, we would like to use your music in this new release of our game, and they most likely say, well, you know, then we know that this is gonna be a very like there's gonna be a huge revenue for you as a game company. Then they ask for some sort of return or something that the game company might not be willing to make. So, which is kind of sad for the gamers. Like they want to, in that way, like in that with Vice City, you want to have what you experienced when you played it, like you did when it got released in, what was it, 2000?
That's a good
4.
Ooh, I don't know when Vice City exactly released.
it's you kind of miss the nostalgia.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like nostalgia is
It's a very big part in gaming.
It's a big part in gaming. Yeah. So, and you know, but I think like you gotta remember that as game developers, we also use a lot of licenses for, like, you know, we need to pay for licenses for the game engine we use, or the 3D modeling software that we use and everything. So like it's not an uncommon thing to you know, go out there and a meeting, like having these tools or this content that you're looking for that you need to pay for. So
Oh no,
Can you still hear us?
it's
Oh no, not again.
it's happening.
Well. Hello.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
bleep bleep.
Yeah,
no,
bleep
but,
bleep bleep.
we're working. It's working. It's still working. It's still going strong. So yeah, what games have you worked on? Because I didn't ask that yet.
Also, I have worked on mostly point and click games, some indie games, mostly indie games. I haven't gotten into the AAA sort of, or like middle sized projects yet. But you know, the ambition is to work with with big projects in a sense.
I see.
But so far, point and click games, atmospheric games. I worked on a DJ game where you play as like a DJ in front of a virtual audience. So you like, play music or like you DJ music to make the audience feel more.
That's Hexagroove, right?
Like, Hexagroove. That's right. Yeah.
It got like an award, right? The best audio.
It was best audio in Baltic Sea Game Awards 2020 or 2019. I can't remember the date yet, right now. But
yeah, we have your website in front of us for info.
Cool.
So
right.
it's also in the description if everyone wants to, go have a look. So we put it in the description, but we have it in front of us to look as well. So.
Yeah. So is that right now I also work with a game with a developer from Czechia who's called Fisco, and the game is called Sang, the Desert Blade, and we just had a Kickstarter funded, and we're now like in production phase where we're working towards the release. So
Nice.
Yeah, that's how I found you, from the Discord.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I was like, see who I can find. Like that would be interesting to have a conversation with. So that's how I found you.
Yeah.
I mean, we have talked about serious stuff. We've talked about some technical stuff. What type of music do you personally like? That's what I've been going around in my head for the past 20 minutes. Like, what type of music do you like?
Yeah, I listen to a lot of different stuff, of course. Lately, it's been a lot of Rammstein actually.
Rammstein. Wow.
Rammstein.
Yeah, they have released a few albums here just recently in the last years here, which have sort of the sound that they have is sort of more refined in a sense, like it's more I'm getting so deep into this right now, but the sound that they have is sort of exactly how I imagine Rammstein to sound like. But I listen back to their old stuff, and it's sort of more. It's not really, It's really like the songs are great, but the audio quality that was back in the 2000s with the loudness war that was going on back then, it's sort of. Has this quality of the sound that I really don't. When I compare it to the sound right now, I feel like they have found some really great sounds. They've made some great albums lately, and then that's that. I listen to Radiohead. I've listened to some Swedish rap lately, actually, that I grew up with.
Okay.
And I've indulged in a lot of Kirby as well.
Kirby.
Kirby 64, for instance, was a big game when I grew up. So
Didn't play that one actually. I dived into Kirby for the last few months. I played a lot of Kirby games that came out on 3DS, DS, Wii. But I haven't played the 64 one. Is it fun? Can you recommend it?
Yeah, I recommend it. It's quite it's not a big challenge in my opinion, but it's like a great soundtrack. I think,
I'm not very good, so
it's in my mind that's a reason good enough to play it. So yeah.
Okay.
Are there any music genres you don't like? Yeah.
No, I like them all.
Okay.
I'm very interested in what music can be and what it is, and some music styles are harder to trickier to understand and get into, but it's all interesting to me, and I find something in there that I always like.
I see. Okay, so you can find a good song in any genre, kind of.
Yeah, I think so. There's always someone made something, and it's worth listening to. And it might not always be something that I really go back and listen to a lot, but there's always something there. As far as I'm concerned, like it's someone someone understood this in some way. Like if I listen to it with the right ears, I can hear that, and I find that very interesting. So
I see.
I find that very it's very meaningful to me, like to listen to music in like with open ears in a sense.
Do you actually have a favorite genre, or?
No, he just said he liked all of them, man.
Yeah, but everyone has a favorite.
Come
If you like all of them, they can't be all on the same level.
No, that's true. That's actually very true. So, yeah.
It's a hard one.
It's a very
It's
hard
always
one.
an hard one.
I really like music that is played live. When one of the best experiences that I've had is when there's sort of this, you listen to a live performance of some artist, and while they're like playing the music, you can almost hear the silence that is when someone is playing music, and you can hear the silence of the crowd in a sense, even though they're singing along, but like there's this complete focus on the band, and those kind of experiences are very and that's not a music. I'm sorry, that's not a music genre, but but it's also like if you can play it live, and you can play it in some way live that sort of captures the audience in that way, then that's the kind of music that I'm drawn to.
I see.
I think they have to make that a new genre now.
Live music.
It's a
Yeah,
genre.
but the thing is, if you can give a twist, so every time you get like you have like a song, and maybe that's a hit. If you can play it live, but you just repeat it, it's always the same. In that sense, it's not always a very good song. But if you can give it like a twist, maybe give a few extra instruments, or leave a few out, for example, an acoustic song, it's very different.
The thing about live music as well is that you're standing there in the crowd, listening to someone play on the stage with all the bells and whistles, with beautiful speakers.
Yeah, I guess the
top
feeling is
quality.
different like that.
It's different than sitting at home or in the bus and listening to music.
Yes.
It's like the whole aesthetic changes, which makes the music more powerful in some way, I feel like.
Yeah. And it's always something like that. There's something about the circumstances. You're very right, I think. Where it's like, well, if you sit on the bus, then that music if you listen to that music that you heard on the in that live stage setting, you're not like listening to that music. You're just listening to your memory of that music, sort of. If you get my point.
Yes, I
and
get
then it's interesting to, like, we're speaking about this right now. It's interesting to think about what happens with music inside of a game, and then sort of you take that out and play it. There's a lot of that, going on right now, that symphony orchestras play game music, but like they're not playing the game music, they're playing like their performance of the game music and some arrangement of it. And the audience there, they go there to experience this. Symphonic orchestras are amazing. Like it's quite an experience to listen to like a lot of musicians who are like experts at what they're doing, perform the music that you love, or like music that is very emotionally dense in a sense.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then you go, like, the audience who buy those tickets, like we go there and we want to hear the music that was in that other circumstance, that was not, it's not gonna be that music, but we wanna experience it in a different setting.
That's
and
Is there like any game, if you could change the music of a game and make it yourself, of what game would you change the music? And what would you change it, like, what would you change of it?
Ooh, that's a really sharp one.
That's a really sharp one, yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. Like, I sort of, like, the way I see it, like, I treat video games as an art form. So, like, in my mind, the question is like, or the question, if I could change the music in that game, which would it be, or like what would it be? Like it's sort of similar to if I could change the color in a Van Gogh painting, like what would it be? It's not really like, it's not about perfection either. Like, oh, this, you know, it's perfect already, but it's sort of, you know, someone made this. Like this is a reflection of what this team and what this artist made in that circumstance. And like, you know,
So you couldn't really like choose something yourself because of,
you know,
yeah.
I'm too caught up in like in my own craft and like trying to do the best that I can with my projects. So
I see.
like,
Okay. Yeah.
you know, it's sort of as an artist, that's the proper way for me, I think, to feel about that.
Yeah, that's a good answer. That's really interesting. That's like, yeah.
I've got another last question though.
Yeah.
I'm gonna really think about this. If this is a good question, let's think. Yeah, I think it might be. You're an artist. You have done some amazing work, and I can definitely say that. I think we can all say that.
Thank you.
What would your advice be? Do you have any advice for those who want to make music, create music, either for games or for personal use, or anything at all? Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question.
It is.
It's a big question. Like, I feel like I can only sort of respond with what I have done. Like, I studied a lot. I was always, when I grew up, when I realized that music was something that could be like sort of a profession for me, or something that I considered that I wanted to do as sort of a living, or like I could let's see if I can make a career out of this. Like, one of the big decisions I made for myself was that I wanted to put myself in a situation as often as possible where there was music around, when that was like an opportunity to work with, like to meet other people who were interested in the same thing. So I guess that could be sort of an advice if you take it in that way. Like, and I studied music in academia. That's one way to do it, but you know, you can study music on your own and then try to reach out to other musicians. And likewise with like in game development, like if I want to work with games, I try to find people who are sort of in the same position that I am. I wanted to study music and audio production, so I started studying at a school which has like game development, game programming programs. Like that was a part of the institution where students liked that. So I went there, and then I, you know, tried to, you know, I told them there I wanted to do this. I wanted to work with music, and eventually there were people there who wanted to make the art, and someone wanted to make the programming, and that's sort of how it became. Game jams are a big thing. Like, I've gotten opportunities from game jams, met new friends there, and those things, you know.
So basically, you would say surround yourself with the people that are like have similar interests.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've always tried to go in there with like, you know, you can't go into these kind of as far as I'm concerned, you can't go into these kind of things without having an open mind to who you will meet and what you will, you know, what's your expectation. You're not going to have high expectations of a game jam. Like, that's the point of the game jam, for instance. So open mind, you know, and yeah, I try to introduce myself to people I don't know. Like, that's a great way to, you know, meet new people, and who knows who you will meet. So,
that's good advice.
That's a beautiful note.
And, like you know, you reached out and and asked me for this. Like, that's, you know, it's a great way to just find new people and see
Where it brings you.
without any like not what do you call it, without any like you're not asking for some specific thing or whatever. Like it's in the end we're here on the world, on the planet, and in the end what matters is just you're gonna be here, just try to have a good time, find people who all wants to have a good time as well, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
I'm sure we all had an amazing time.
We had an amazing time. It didn't. Yeah.
I mean, okay, so I'll just say this. Besides all the technical errors, everything went fine. But yeah, it's like, from my point of view, technical errors are kind of a thing that do happen. Oh, damn. It's not working now.
Wow. Speak of the devil.
Don't
what?
jinx it.
Damn.
Hello?
Hello?
No way.
No way.
Oops, no.
Oh.
No. How does it happen when you start talking about
Whoa.
it? That is, wow.
Oh, no.
Speak of the devil
of the
and
devil.
he shall come, they
Okay,
say.
so,
Right?
yeah. Well, thank you for, yeah.
I mean, thank you for listening, I guess. He will come back in a few seconds.
Oh, yeah? Does it work?
Hello.
Oh my God.
There you
It
go.
was like, speak of the devil. We were
Speak
all
of the devil
like,
and he shall come.
we were all
Speak
like-
about technical issues and it occurs.
Yeah, it started again.
Anyway, I think everyone had a good time, right?
Nice.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, we talked about a lot, about all kinds of things around music, in music, the whole box of it,
package.
the whole pack.
Hello?
Oh my God, there you go.
Are you on your phone?
Yes, we can hear you. All right, so let's do this right.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna end the podcast
Yeah,
here.
we're going to end the podcast. We wanted to thank you very
We
much
wanted
for
to thank you
joining us,
very much for the insight in music and games.
for the advice.
It's kind of interesting when the podcast is about audio. The audio
Yeah.
breaks everywhere. That's funny. It's fine though. It's all laughs. It's all good. But yeah,
No, it's the sign of the times. Like this
is where we're at.
where we're at. We're all dealing with
Yeah.
this
So,
kind of stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. But I also wanted to say, I know you guys are interested, or like you study in this esports kind of thing right now. So I would really like to give you guys a recommendation on where you can look for more information about these kind of topics. And you probably know
Yeah.
about Riot
Yes.
Yes, we
Games,
do.
and League of Legends, and their attitude and their solution to this kind of thing with trouble with copyright and stuff is that they have created sort of their own music company within their company. So when they create the music, they have
That's
the rights
smart.
to use
That's
the
smart.
music.
Yeah.
So that is one solution that you can do it. And the guy who I know who's the head of the Riot Games music group is called Toa Dunn, and he does podcasts and stuff like this, and he has been he's been interviewed in a lot of places. So I think he's a good resource, and he's a very interesting guy to listen to. Because he loves music and he understands the value of music within what they are doing. So, sorry for interrupting.
No problem.
No worries. No worries.
I've been thinking about this, and I really admire him and his ambition with what he has done there. So, big props there. And if you want to check it out, I think you should do that.
Thank you for listening to the ROCM podcast. We hope you enjoyed. Check our socials displayed on screen and within the description. Have a nice day. Till next time.